new innovation. We need human interaction, conflict, argument, debate. So for the next 2 hours, we will ponder the topic, government should not be in the business of business.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The day has come to witness the crowning year of work and crown the best debate team of Kerala. 10 clusters, 76 teams. The last 3 months witnessed the best of the best debates across Kerala. And today, we welcome each and every one of you to the Kerala State Finals of the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition, the flagship program of XIME, being conducted over the years to encourage debating skills, especially among girl students. As a result, you will notice that at least one member for every team is a girl in today's finale.
The winners will take home the Maria Philip Memorial Ever Rolling Trophy and a cash prize of 40,000 rupees. The finalists who are the zonal winners have already bagged 6,000 for the first place.
Are you all ready to buckle up and watch the heated debate?
10 teams from prestigious colleges from Kerala are here in XIME Kochi to compete for the Maria Philip Memorial Ever Rolling Trophy and a cash prize of Rs 40,000.
Before we begin, we would like to congratulate all the winners of the zonal rounds, which were held between the months of October to December.
We have now reached the segment of the day you've all been waiting for, the portion for which you, the winning teams, have been preparing rigorously for.
Before we commence with the competition, let me have the privilege of introducing our esteemed panel of judges. Chairing the judging panel, we have Dr. Rubal Raj, former Academics and Administration Manager, Good Shepherd Public School and Junior College, Changanasheri. He was also the former Principal of Marian College, Kuttikanam. He is the winner of many accolades, including the Sneha Prabha Puraskaram of Changanasheri Merchants Association for contribution to education in 2019, the Dr. Sam Higginbotham Award for the Best Principal of the All India Association for Christian Higher Education Institutions in 2013, and the John Paul II Award for the Best Educationist, awarded by the Catholic Federation of India in 2011, to name a few. Dr. Rubal Raj has also held numerous positions, including the President of the Xavier Board of Higher Education, Southern Region, President of the All Kerala Catholic Students League, and a member of the Committee for Autonomy and Affiliation of Kerala State Higher Education Council, and the list goes on. We are honored to have you here with us today, sir. We welcome you.
Next, we have with us Ms. Teresa Verghese, founder and director of Krithium Solutions Private Limited.
Krithium is a provider of healthcare business intelligence, data science, and operational solutions with over 2 decades of experience.
She is also a proud XIME alumna.
We
We extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am.
We also have with us Ms. BGSS, the Senior General Manager and Group Business Head, South Indian Bank. She is presently heading the Corporate Banking Group, Housing Loan, Vehicle Loan, Co-lending and Transaction Banking Group, handling over 48% of the bank's total asset portfolio. She is also the presiding officer of the internal committee of the bank and a member of credit committees, audit committees, and councils covering different areas of banking. She has worked in diversified roles covering branch banking, marketing, retail credit underwriting, and administrative roles, including the largest region of the bank. Ms. BGSS has been associated with South Indian Bank for more than 27 years. We would like to extend a warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Next, we have with us Ms. Sumi Sugumaran, an IIM Kozhikode alumna, transforming Kerala's startup ecosystem and championing women-led ventures. She is currently the head of infrastructure and inclusive entrepreneurship at Kerala Startup Mission. She is a result-driven professional with a proven track record in top-notch implementation and project management. Her extensive experience spans diverse industries. We welcome you, ma'am. So for the benefit of the judges and to remind the contestants, I'll be going through the rules of the debate once again. So one speaker, chess number A, will speak for the motion for 4 minutes, and the other, chess number B, will speak against the motion for 4 minutes. There will be a warning bell after 3.5 minutes and another at 4 minutes to signify that the time has ended. There will not be any cross rebuttal rounds. Please note there will be negative markings for exceeding the 4-minute time limit and also for the use of any reference material. Teams should not wear their college uniforms or blazers indicating the name of the institute or mention the name of the institution during the competition. After the team speeches are over, the members are requested to stay seated in the hall.
Without any further ado, let's kick-start this edition of the state finals of the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition. We wish all the participants the very best of luck.
So I request all the contestants, except for the first team, to kindly move from the auditorium. Our volunteers will escort you to the waiting room.
Can we now have on stage Team 1? Team member 1A will be speaking for the motion. 1B, you may be seated on the hot chair.
Testing. John Baptist Say is one of the most insightful and important thinker of economics, who is a great proponent of Adam Smith laissez-faire concept. According to laissez-faire concept, it is limited government intervention. According to Say's law, supply creates its own demand. That means whatever be produced in the economy will create its own purchasing power. A very warm good morning to one and all. Juries, my dear fellow debaters and others, I am Megha Sharan, here to present the favoring notion. We have the topic, government should not be in the business of business. Why the government should not be in the business of business? First of all, I just want to say one thing, the inefficiencies and competitiveness. Actually, we know that the government are always criticized for the inefficiency and lack of competitiveness. As we all know that, by welcoming the private entities or giving chances to private entities, it will increase the efficiency. And also the competitiveness among the groups, industries will increase the economic growth. So the first thing that I have to say is the competitiveness and efficiency. Let me give you one important example about Sweden. As we all know that Sweden is one of the wealthiest nations in the country. But in 1970s, 80s and 1990s, Sweden was not like that because it has that kind of socialist approach. But it started to privatize the industries. It became one of the wealthiest nation in the country. The second point that I can put forward is innovation and entrepreneurship. The private entities will motivate or will accept the innovations, new innovations, entrepreneurship that will create dynamic and many creativity in the economy. Another important point that I can give to you is adaptability. More than the government, the private entities or private industries can adapt easily. They can act according to the consumer's behavior, technological things, and other external factors. It is not much, it couldn't be much possible to government while compared to private entities. And let me give you one example. In 1989, the Poland has voted against the socialism. Why? Because of the political depression, economic stagnation, etc. We have a lot of other examples like Russia, Hungary, Lithuania. And another important thing that I could give you the point is focus on the core functions of government. Yes, the government has their own core functions, maintaining law and order, maintaining social welfare, and making available the goods to all people. Let the government to do that and make the private entities to do their jobs, because they have the most important personalities or efficient, experienced personalities. They can do the business well. And by taking the concepts or reports, we can assume that becoming capitalist country or being the capitalist one, it increased the life expectancy, reduced the poverty, and also it assured basic things like food and water. So from this, all the things we can assume that it is very good to promote the private entities, private industries. Let me give you some more examples to clarify my opinion that government should not be in the business of business. Let me take the Cold War of USA and USSR. Who won? Of course, the USA. It is the most wealthiest nation in this country or in this scenario. Let me take the example of China. Before 40 years, China has 20% of capitalism and 80% of socialism, which made the economic growth in a slow pace. But it started to take more free market systems or unrestricted trade mechanisms. China started to grow well. And let me give you another important example. As we all know that Cuba, yes, the Cuba situation is also very important. Let me conclude my words with the great economist and words, that is Alfred Milton Alfred. That is, the notion for the capitalist is voluntary exchange and voluntary cooperation, but the notion for the socialist is force. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, 1A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Can we now have 1B to deliver your points? One B, you may start.
Not everything that is profitable is a social value, or not everything that has a social value is profitable. Our Prime Minister has said that government has no business to be in business. Is it really necessary for a government should be involved in a business? Think about it. A very good morning to honorable judges, faculty members, and my dear fellow debaters. I, Krishnapriya, stand here to talk against the topic that is currently becoming a matter of discussion all over the world. First of all, I would like to ask a question to my fellow debaters. What is the purpose of government? Or what is the fundamental purpose of the government? Is it to increase the wealth or profit? Absolutely no. Thomas Jefferson has said that the purpose of the government is to enable the people of a nation to live in safely and happily. A corporation's mission is to make profit. This isn't just a good business sense. Oh, it's a legally binding component of incorporating. Government mission is to provide for all goods and services for all citizens, like roads, schools, police stations, etc. Government policy may influence the production process in business, and the government policy may change due to change in political party or any social interruptions That's nominal. And also, the government may also increase the tax in some products production. For example, carbon reduction legislation put a cost on carbon. Business don't like this policy to be in place because they feel that it is going to be very costly for their business. And government, on the other hand, wants to reduce this carbon going into the environment. The second thing that business and government. The government is more concerned about both small and big industries or big businesses. If we consider two supermarkets that are dominant in a place, however, people will approach them. But, however, they are killing their competitors that are smaller family-based supermarkets. And also, government involvement in certain industries can create us job opportunities, and also, thereby we can maintain economic stability. And as we know, in certain health industries or health hospitals, government involvement is very necessary. There is playing many dirty tricks in the private industries. And also, I would like to remember you that government industries have a lot of difference with private industries. For example, if government is promoting more to the startup businesses, like it is stopping the to and fro production and the supply of things that are coming from foreign industries. And also, I would like to say that government should be in the business of business. Government should be in the business of business. I truly believe in that because the government is responsible for maintaining the balance between the need of the citizens and that of the business. Surely, I can say that. I conclude my words by saying that government should be in the business of business. You can think about that. Is it really necessary for a government to be involved in this business? What will happen if it happened? Think about it. It's up to you. You can imagine that. You can realize that it happened, we will all be in big trouble. That because profit making is not the need of the government. Government's need is to maintain welfare. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, team number one. Please note, there will be negative marking if you mention your name during the debate. Can we have team number 2 on stage? We now have on stage team member 2A speaking for the motion.
Respected judges and my fellow competitors and everybody present in here, I hope you have a warm morning. Free market, where competition fuels innovation and businesses thrive, said Milton Friedman. What did he really mean by that? Well, free market means we have no certain regulations set up by the government. Now, what are the problems we find when a government is keeping regulations for such an entrepreneurship or a business? Well, we can see that when you have a business which is very much regulated by the government, it really slows down their bureaucratic efficiency, and the red tape which means all the documentation and all the requests by the businesses will be run through the government, and which can slow down all the operational efficiency of a business. Well, we all know how government affects different kinds of businesses. We just have to look at the KSRTC. Everybody says that government can give us customer security, but what about the employees that would be working on these firms? We know that the employees of the KSRTC has been out of pay for a long time. And when a government party is controlling businesses, it really affects their ability to see how to bring about new innovations and also take risks. By saying taking risks makes a really big change in every business. For example, we all know about the sneaker company Nike. If anybody has seen the movie Air, they can see that by taking such a big risk, they had really skyrocketed their brand to one of the top brands of shoemaking industry. And I think it speaks for itself how risk taking is very important for the growth of a business. Thank you.
Thank you, 2A. Now can we have 2B to deliver your points against the motion?
Good morning, all the judges present here and my fellow competitors. I am speaking against the motion. Government should be in the business of business. Government involved will ultimately destroy any market. It is the ultimate outcome of it. If we need a bright future, if we need a stable future, the controlling authority is essential. And we know that controlling means the control over trade, investment, and the control over prices too. Market is always driven by the market forces of demand and supply. But we know that government plays an important role here. In India, for example, we have subsidies and many other components that help the common people. They help the common people to come out of poverty. Government plays an important role to establish welfare. If we give the control to the private sector, there won't be any welfare. That means that only the GDP of a country will increase. No welfare or development will be at the outcome of letting the market free. Government should be in control. Government is the authority who can control the market and which can establish welfare. We can, for example, if some critical sectors like defense, infrastructure or energy, government should be in control because it is in charge of national security. So government control give job opportunities too. It increases job opportunities and it create more, it bring job opportunities to the down to earth people. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 2. We now have Team 3 in the auditorium. 3. Can we now have 3A? Can we now have 3A to speak for the motion?
When K.T. Shah, an eminent economist in the Indian Constituent Assembly, proposed the idea of socialism into the constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar turned down this proposal by stating how a society should be organized in terms of social and economic sides should be a matter of decision by the people in terms of time and circumstances and not in accordance with the government, because that in itself is a destruction of democracy. A very warm morning to one and all present here. Let me begin my argument with this very statement from Ambedkar. Firstly, business is for the business sector. Government should govern. According to laissez-faire theory, it suggests that economy is strongest when the government stays out of the economy entirely, letting the market forces behave naturally. Free trade provides countries the chance to mutually benefit from transactions, and startup businesses are given more freedom to take risk, and the absence of taxation provides them the benefit of more spending power, which ultimately results in more growth and progress. For example, the Index of Economic Freedom published by the Wall Street Journal and Heritage Foundation identifies the economic freedom of a country based on certain parameters. According to this, Singapore stood first in this index only because of the economic freedom and trade rights this country enjoys. Secondly, governments can't make profit. According to the State Finances Audit Report submitted by the CAG of India, the amount of loss incurred by state public sector enterprises in the year 2020 to 21 is 3,568.19 crores, which is almost 10 times the amount of loss incurred in the year 2018 to 19. So it's quite clear that government sectors can't generate wealth. If the fundamental point of wealth creation is not met, you have a system in place which is a losing system. You're going to fail this country because you're taking the money away from taxpayers to support this inefficient working. According to the estimates of Kerala government, the amount of income generated by KSRTC per day is 4.39 crores. And the amount of expenditure, it's 8.76 crores. So it's quite clear that governments can't generate profit. Something this unprofitable should immediately disinvest these white elephants and save the citizens of these heavy burdens. Thirdly, governments can't bring out competition and innovation. As most governments are based on socialism as one of its core values, it doesn't promote competition, as most of the means of production are under the control of government. By the end of the 20th century, we saw the rise and fall of USSR, a socialist country. In this neoliberal world, we need a push for innovation. What we need to do is to transfer the public sector enterprises into private individuals. By the results of privatization in 1991, we saw an increase in foreign trade by 316.9%, and we also witnessed an increase in India's GDP from $266 billion in 1991 to $2.3 trillion in 2018. Fourth, government can never provide the same service and commitment as portrayed by a private sector. With all these arguments, I'd like to reaffirm that government should not be in the business of business. Every single person is a better judge of himself or herself than any other president, governor, or congressman. As the citizens of this country that provides us with unlimited liberty and equality, we have the right to choose what profession or occupation we can do in this country, and it includes every single business that's happening in this country. Let's be innovative, let's take this country forward. Thank you and have a thoughtful day.
Thank you, 3A. You may be seated on the hot seat. Now can we have 3B to deliver your points against the motion?
It was John Maynard Keynes who said that government can stabilize the ups and downs of the economy. Ever since then, the government influence on the business had ever increased. Let us look at the statistics of the Indian scenario. In 1950-51, the government of India had a worth of 20 crores of PSUs in the business, and in 2023, it rose to 20 lakh crores. Good morning to one and all present here. Firstly, the newly emerging and the underdeveloped countries require a big push in the form of heavy investments in order to tackle their vicious circle of poverty. And this entrepreneur role can only be taken by the government when the welfare measures take the front seat. From building infrastructural development to maintaining the confidence and ensuring stability of the economy, the government revolves itself into what Friedman calls as government capitalism. And this growth also boosts up several other sectors like that of defense and space exploration. The experience of East Asian countries like Taiwan, South Korea, all shows that the government participation in the economy is very much crucial. And secondly, government is the advocate of stakeholders. It is argued that as the only institution that is explicitly mandated to represent society in the business, government should act, government should protect the rights of the stakeholders. And who are these stakeholders? These stakeholders also include small businesses, which employ 60% of the global workforce, and government should protect their rights too. But how? By preventing monopolistic tendencies in the market, government should revolve itself into a protector of the market. In this debate of democracy versus plutocracy, as economist fascins opens, there is no such institution like government which can act in such a public power and legitimacy in a situation or environment that is surrounded by powerful MNCs. And thirdly, the full employment equilibrium condition that is a basic condition of the laissez-faire policy that was earlier discussed can only be ensured by the government. The neoclassical economist had said that the private sector make efficient investments only when the government is in the market. And what does that say? It says that even the laissez-faire system needs a government to protect it. The business becomes a fundamental factor of everyday life, and this in turn calls in for government participation in the business. In the security front, the strategic nature of the transactions that take place ensures or calls in for the government participation. Or else, what can we predict? There is a Russian private military group, Wagner group, that is rising a mutiny against Russia. So how can a country stand when the security is threatened? And further, in the social front, welfare measures like that of reservation and other economic justice measures will be under peril in the government-absent business market. And thus, what should a government be? A government be a guardian dog that protects its master. And who is the master? The master are its citizens, its stakeholders. And finally, government divides and distributes business. All of the economics is based on the simple definition that the resources are scarce. Yeah, the resources are scarce. So what does the government do? A government distributes its resources. I would like to refute the argument that my opponent said that the government can't make profit with the case of the Indian scenario, that the Indian PSUs made a net worth profit of 20.8 lakh crores in this 2023-24 financial year. To conclude, I would like to state that a crisis is an opportunity with a dangerous wind. And even when the dangerous wind led the private markets to fall, there was a government to hold on. When the Lehman Brothers aggravated the global financial crisis, we had a George W. Bush. And when the public-private sector job cuts is affecting the government, we had a Rishi Sunak working on it. Thank you. Thus, the government should be in the business of business. Thank you.
Thank you, team number 3. We now have on stage team member 4A speaking for the motion.
A very pleasant morning to one and all present here. Imagine a world where your favorite coffee shop, instead of being run by a passionate barista, is run by a government bureaucrat. A world where your local tech store is not guided by market demand, but by political motives. These what-if scenarios aren't just a flight of imagination. They delve into a very critical question. What if the government is in the business of business. Today, we explore this hypothetical landscape and consider why, perhaps, some things are better left to the expertise of entrepreneurs and not the corridor of government office. To begin, let's consider the inherent inefficiencies of government when it enters the market realm. Nobel laureate Milton Friedman aptly stated, "A government solution to a problem is usually as bad as the problem." This is because government, by nature, is a bureaucratic organization, slow to adapt and oftentimes burdened by red tapes. In 2021, Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, echoed his sentiment when he stated, "The government has no business to do business." This idea underscores the perspective that government's primary focus should be on enhancing the business realm and not directly participating in commercial activities. Statistics further support this argument. A study conducted by the World Bank found that state-owned enterprises are less productive and financially stable compared to their private counterparts. A prime example of this is the telecommunication industry of India. BSNL, that dominated the market in the 1990s, was recently privatized. It was privatized and private players like Airtel and Jio entered the market, making it a competent and innovative market. Another example of this is the airline industry of India, that is Air India, that was recently privatized in 2022 due to the inefficiency in government's management. Moreover, when government become a market participant, the potential of political interference in business become a real concern. Now, let's consider resource allocation. When government use these resources to engage in an enterprise, to start an enterprise, it uses the precious public funds that can be used to enhance health sector, infrastructure, etc. Nobel laureate and economist James M. Buchanan stated, "Every dollar spent by the government is a dollar taken from the pockets of the people." In conclusion, when government enters the business realm, it makes it difficult for the business to function properly. Economic theories, statistics, and wisdom of leaders paint a very compelling picture. Government should not be in the business of business. While the government plays a crucial role in the governance, it should not be a market participant. Thank you.
Thank you, Foray. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now, can we have 4B to deliver your points against the motion?
What if your toilet paper costs you more than your full meal? This is exactly what it will become if you let private business to run wild and limit the intervention of the government to own business. Let us look at the GDP of the world. The second largest economy in the world is none other than China, with an estimated GDP of $17,948 billion and with an annual GDP growth of $5.2 billion. I say this because the business in China is largely owned by the state-owned enterprises, which means the government has a say in all that affects the economy. Well, China is only just an example. In a bigger picture, we can also bring in Russia, Saudi Arabia, UAE, United Arab Emirates, and many other countries. Let us look at our own country, India, where the government runs a big chunk of the most influential and high-flying companies like ONGC, Oil and Natural Gas Corporation Limited, CIL, Coal India Limited, and HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, and many other, summing up to 398 CPSE, Central Public Sector Enterprises. Why do I mention this? I mention this because I want to remind all of us that the government run 740, I say 740 welfare schemes. And where do the government get all the revenue to fund these welfare schemes? It is through this government-owned business. And I question all of you, if left to the private sector, whose primary aim is to generate revenues for their own self-benefit, will they fund these welfare schemes? I doubt. Let me cite some other reasons why the government has to be the father of business or the business itself. Well, firstly, the government promotes fair competition. One of the primary roles of the government is to promote or to ensure that competition should be fair, which means if the government does not intervene in the business or is not in the business, monopolists and cartels would dominate the market, leading to a higher price rise and reduced consumer choices. Antitrust laws and regulatory bodies ensure that these private companies are kept in check so that they adhere to ethical and legal standards. Therefore, I conclude by saying that if the government does not come into the picture of business, our economy at large would be run by thugs and monopolistic, self-centered individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 4. We now have on stage team member 5A speaking for the motion. You may start.
Control leads to compliance, whereas autonomy leads to engagement. Respected judges and my dear fellow mates, a very warm good morning. Today I stand before you to speak for the notion on the topic, the government should not be in the business of business. Let me begin by asking you a couple of questions. What criteria should exactly be used to determine when and where the government interventions must appear in a rapidly evolving field like business? And how do we strike a connection between the excessive regulatory measures of the government and the business, the flexibility to adapt to the rising demand of the market? Well, I strongly believe that the government should not entangle itself in the business operations, as it many times results in inefficiencies, lack of innovation, and potential conflicts. And this can have adverse consequences. First and foremost, it may lead to bureaucratic inefficiencies. The slowing down of decision-making process stifles a plethora of innovations and creativities. The government involvement may hinder the emergence of a lot of new companies and business startups, which they do by reducing the competition and limiting the availability and the scope of open and free market system. It also leads to resource misallocation, where the political considerations may influence the decision-making policies of the government, and this leads to the misallocation of resources. As subsidies and supports are directed on the basis of political favoritism rather than economic efficiency. Many a times, the close ties between the business parties and the government officials lead to corruption, and many a times certain companies lead to experience and get a preferential treatment, which is undermining the fair competition. It also leads to the distortion of the market, where the subsidies and the prices implemented by the government is being replaced by using various sorts of corruptive measures and trying to bias the whole system. Hence, the primary role of the government should aim at providing a conducive environment for the business to thrive and succeed. I'd like to conclude with a profound realization that the government should not be in the business of business. Rather, they should focus on creating a level playing field and provide the business and entrepreneurs the freedom to explore and experiment and push the boundaries in order to find groundbreaking solutions. By stepping behind into the direct involvements, we are also promoting efficient economy, and also we must also make sure that we need a system that is transparent and which can be gained with the right and efficient entrepreneurship practices and ethics. With the right balance, let us ensure that we foster innovation while addressing the concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, 5A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Can we now have 5B to deliver your points against the motion?
It's been said that government does not create jobs, business does. Much of a part is true, but government creates the environment for business to expand and extend. A very warm good morning to one and all present here today. I'm here to speak against the motion, government should not be in the business of business. Do you want to live in a society where the pharmaceutical companies manufacture medicines without any standards and safety measures? Do you want to live in a society where frequent financial crisis occurs like the 2008 financial crisis? A society where the food you eat and the water you drink are so polluted that you are compelled to have it because you have no other options? A society where the environment becomes so polluted that you can't even take a breath of fresh air? I know you wouldn't, but this is what a society without government interventions in business would look like. I know these are far-fetched ideas, but far-fetched doesn't mean impossible, and the possibility of a dystopia is a reason enough to consider government involvement in business. Now let me get into my points. Firstly, ensure essential services. Many services are essential for human well-being, like the healthcare services. Without government interventions, these could be profit-driven and it could lead to many disastrous situations. We could experience it during the early vaccination stages of corona. Secondly, stability in economic crisis. During economic crisis, government strategies helps in improving the economy. In the 2008 financial crisis, the strategic government measure to make the bank blackouts was a strategic step which prevented in the cascaded economic disaster. Thirdly, It prevents in monopolies and malpractices in business. Government interventions helps us to create a fair market and prevent the malpractices in business. Anti-trading policies by the US Trade Commission helps in creating a fair market and helps the businessmen in a fair manner and helps the consumers against the malpractices in business. The consumer protection rights. The consumer protection laws and the agencies helps in making the business more ethical and protects the consumers and helps the product to be more safe and quality products are being manufactured. My next point is it helps in addressing the externalities. There are many externalities caused by business like the pollution. The environmental pollution that has been increased day by day is a threat to our future generation. The government policies on the emission standards and environmental policies helps us in protecting the environment. In India, the emission standards were improved and we were able to decrease the emission rate by 33% in 14 years, which is a very remarkable achievement. Finally, the long-term investment in research and development. The government interventions in the research and development field is a major step. It helped us in creating a breakthrough inventions like the GPS system and the internet. It also, in India, the Chandrayaan and the Mangalyaan mission were also a great step. I would like to conclude by saying the quote, coming together is a beginning, being together is progress, and working together is success. Let the government and the business organization work together to create a beautiful and successful and developed India. Thank you.
Thank you, team member 5. We now have on the stage team member 6A speaking for the motion.
When you hear the term invisible hand, your mind may wander to a variety of possible meanings. But Adam Smith, the father of economics, used it to refer to the natural forces that guided self-interest to fulfill people's and society's demands on its own, without government intervention. This idea of a free market he envisioned, though not yet fully realized, may have done more to elevate the global standard of living than any other single idea in history. A very good morning to one and all present here. Today I stand to make a convincing case for the topic, governments should not be in the business of businesses. I intend to substantiate my position by discussing the relevant benefits of free markets, examining the drawbacks of government over-regulation, and presenting certain examples for a possible solution. When governments leave markets alone, there will be ups and downs, but the historical trends have shown more ups than downs. Since consumers are the decision makers, bad actors get pushed out of the market and bad ideas get corrected or replaced because consumers take their business elsewhere. Monopolies may arise, but without government backing, they don't last long. Good actors and good ideas grow, prosper, and inspire others to emulate the same. India understands this philosophy. Former State Minister of Finance, Jayat Sinha, has mentioned the government's plan to move to the role of economic facilitator by limiting its interference in the market. Programs such as Make in India and Skill India all work towards executing this mission. On the other hand, when governments intervene in markets, historical trends have shown temporary upswings followed by prolonged downswings, caused by their sluggish reaction to market fluctuations. Moreover, monopolies are formed and sustained by government regulations lobbied for by large corporations looking to close out competition. These governments effectively declare, we know what is best for each individual, so they must spend their money as we dictate. And these decision-making bureaucrats suffer no consequences if they turn out to be wrong. But despite all these points, the free market economic model, which calls for the complete absence of government intervention, is not what I stand for. Not when a middle ground that fosters economic prosperity while prioritizing social concerns certainly exists. Singapore stands alone as the only country to be rated economically free in every single index category. Its sustained march to reach ever higher levels of economic freedom has produced one of the world's highest living standards. But just 50 years ago, this very country was strife with unemployment, low-skilled workers, and foreign trade barriers. This secret to this astonishing shift lies in the foundations of Singapore's economic resilience. It includes strong protection of property rights and effective enforcement of anti-corruption laws. The efficient governments provide good public services at low tax rates. The regulatory environment is flexible and transparent, encouraging a vibrant economic activity. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the balance that must be struck to ensure both economic and social prosperity. The government can be a friend of the business and of the people without any sacrifices. But unfortunately, governments have a long-term history of trapping nations into decline through overregulation. In conclusion, we as a government, as people as a government, must elect people that ensure that government stays as a neutral referee even when the rules of the economy keep changing. This provides a space for businesses to ensure and thrive through competition, innovation, and the pursuit of excellence, unencumbered by government regulations. Thank you.
Thank you, 6A. You may be seated on the hot chair. Now can we have 6B to deliver your points against the motion?
Picture the year 2008. The global financial landscape was marred by the collapse of financial giants, and the reverberations were felt far beyond Wall Street. The automotive industry, a bedrock of financial prowess, faced an unprecedented crisis. Iconic names were on the verge of extinction, threatening not only the livelihoods of millions, but the industrial fabric of entire regions. In the crucible of economic uncertainty, a pivotal question emerged. Should democracies or governments involve itself in the realm of business, especially when industries vital to national economies teetered on the brink? As we embark on our discussion today, let this snapshot of history serve as a window into the complexities of the relationship between governance and businesses. The automotive industry bailout is not merely a chapter in the economic archives. It's a living, breathing example that forces us to acknowledge the crucial role of legislative intervention in the realm of businesses. So with conviction in my voice, I declare from the very onset that I firmly oppose the motion, governments should not be in the business of businesses. Governments, by providing critical services such as healthcare, education, lay the foundation of a country where everyone has a chance to thrive. As Beasley and Gattack pointed out in their 2001 study, this approach, void of profit-driven motives, places quality and affordability at the forefront, ensuring a better life for all. But my friends, the path to such an utopia is fraught with challenges. Industries, if left unchecked, become behemoths, trampling over fairness and consumer rights. Governmental interventions act as a shield, preventing financial catastrophe and maintaining the delicate balance of fair competition. Yes, there are bureaucratic bundles, but these are the storms we have to weather to protect the sanctity of our markets. Also, there are certain industries and sectors which have strategic importance to the overall welfare of our nation. For example, health, energy, infrastructure industries. These often require a guiding hand to prevent overexploitation and to ensure that the needs of the populace are adequately met. For instance, Zambian government, faced with an adversity, took a decisive stand. They put a price ceiling on maize to control the very essence of daily life. These actions
are not just economic maneuvers, they are lifelines thrown in times of uncertainty. The grand scheme of economic and industrial development, these lifelines are what people need the most. As highlighted by the World Bank in 2015, governments hold the brush that can paint a stable business environment, attracting foreign investments and safeguarding the very interest of public safety. In conclusion, let's not shy away from the dramatic crescendo that is the relationship between business and governments. Thank you for your attention as we navigate this dramatic opera that is governments and their role in securing a brighter future in our investment realm. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 6. We now have on stage team member 7A speaking for the motion.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Respected panel, dear audience. I'll be speaking in support of the motion, and I firmly believe that governments must not interfere in the business of business. Now, this topic brings to mind a very famous quote by Milton Friedman: "The business of business is simply business." Now, it's no secret that private players are comparatively more efficient simply because it's more profitable to be so. With enough competition in the market, the average consumer has more choice, which results in welfare. A win-win situation for both the firm and the consumer, isn't it? Now, governments do have an important role in the economy, which is that of regulation. But of late, they've been trying to involve themselves in activities which frankly do not concern them at all. Allow me to explain. Let's examine a few of these affirmative action policies in business. The Tata Affirmative Action Policy of 2007 aimed to, quote-unquote, promote equity amongst the marginalized and encourage their productivity. But isn't this an attack on meritocracy? Policies like these undermine efficiency and must be done away with. Moreover, most of these social justice initiatives which the government is so keen on introducing seem like cheap vote bank tactics to me. Tokenism must not be encouraged in matters relating to business, ladies and gentlemen. Now, recently I came across a bogus study which was trying to jump on the inclusivity bandwagon. It stated that the presence of women amounting to 30% or more on the directorial boards of an organization resulted in much better decision making and quality of discussion. Now, granted, we have women spearheading some of the best institutions and firms across the world. Leena Nair of Chanel, an alumnus of XLRI, one of India's elite B schools, is a very good example. However, companies recruit such women because they were capable enough in the first place and not just because they are members of an underrepresented community. And no, yours truly, along with most of the top-tier global firms, are not proponents of misogyny. Now, government intervention in business can lead to the worsening of obscene issues like favoritism, corruption, power-mongering, etc. Moreover, political self-interest can also lead to inefficiencies and irregular allocation of resources. What's even more harmful, you ask? When governments try to run dhandas of their own. A classic example is that of Air India, which was recently privatized in January 2022. Statistics officially show that the company was running at losses amounting to rupees 20 crore per day before it was handed back over to the Tatas. Now, the bulk of the, the current national debt of India amounts to rupees 151 lakh crore rupees, but if the bulk of India's PSUs are privatized, which has a net market cap of 51 lakh rupees, by the way, and if assuming that they increase in value by 10 times over the next 10 years, and if the government holds on to its equity, selling it off in parts as the company gains in value, then we'll be able to amass a net total of 510 lakh crore rupees at the end of 10 years, which the government can use to invest in the development of this nation. Need I say more, ladies and gentlemen? While taxations and subsidies are necessary, one must again examine the ulterior political motives behind some of them. For example, the new carbon border adjustment mechanism proposed by the EU is aggressively protectionist at its core and in their own words claims to level the playing field. But I ask, to whose advantage? Now, of course, such policies may encourage the adoption of renewable energy sources in the short run, but it can severely impact nations like Mozambique, which heavily rely on the imports from their aluminum industry. The Mercosur beefman issue too is a very good example. While I do agree that governments have an important role in the economy, as an impartial referee is quintessential for a fair game, but businesses must be allowed to function with necessary regulation without burdening them with unnecessary socialist ideas like corporate social responsibility. And it goes without saying that aping businesses in the name of control will take us nowhere if we are to achieve a 5 trillion economy by 2028. Thank you.
Thank you, 7A. You may be seated on the hot seat. Can we now have 7B to deliver your points against the motion?
Respected judges, panel, and the audience, a very warm good morning to all of you gathered here. I, for one thing, strongly disagree with the proposition. The very reason why proponents of free markets are so against government intervention is because they have an idealist society in mind. Yes, it's easy to opine that the government should stay away from business if every citizen has an equal footing, if it is a level playing field. But I'm sorry to break your bubble with a very visible hand, but the world is a very unequal and imperfect place to be in. Unregulated laissez-faire markets are breeding grounds of inequality, monopolies, and oligopolies. And who are to suffer from all of this? The consumers. They become the scapegoats and have to suffer from the high prices and cheap quality of goods available in the market. The very fact that CSR is something that the government has to strongly enforce on the businesses rather than be something that the businesses voluntarily embrace themselves is point enough that the businesses are naturally indifferent to welfare, and it is upon the government to remind them of it. A recent study in 2013 by the Reputation Institute, which is a global consulting firm, shows that CSR accounts for 42% of how a reputation of a company is felt by the customers. Then there's efficiency. My fellow speaker has been generously using the word efficiency throughout his speech. I'd like to say that there is no efficiency without stability. A look into the challenges faced by US during both the Great Depression in 1929 and the financial crisis in 2008 show that it highlights the significance of government in businesses. New Deal, brought by Roosevelt during the Great Depression in 1929, was responsible for bringing out a lot of welfare schemes and labor laws and bringing subsidies to the system. The Troubled Asset Relief Program, or TARP, which was brought down during the financial crisis of 2008, stabilized the financial system of the economy as a whole. And it was also shown that if the government was not to step in during the period, there would not have been 2.6 billion jobs in US at that time. The United States Department of Treasury also states that it was able to recover. TARP was responsible for recovering $441.7 billion from an investment of $426 billion. Now it's upon the government to do all these at the time of need. As Keynes said, when all the pillars of an economy are failing, it is upon the government to be the last pillar of support to provide the economy. Now, the third reason why the government should intervene in business is because giving public goods, entrusting public goods to unaccountable private entities echoes the famous let them eat cake attitude. Now, the US education is a poignant example to this. When you look into the Indian context, where 43% of institutes are private and deemed, who are not obligated to implement the constitutionally mandated affirmative policies, SCs, STs, and the Nordic countries are an excellent example to positive government intervention. They enjoy a high quality of life, and the fact that all three Scandinavian countries fall into the top 10 of the HDI list, that is Norway is second, Denmark sixth, and Sweden seventh, shows a positive impact of government intervention. Now I'd like to end my stance with a thought to ponder on. Maybe it's not the deer that's crossing the road, but the road that's crossing the forest. Maybe it's not the government that's interfering in business, but businesses that are interfering with governance. Thank you.
Thank you, team number 7. We now have on the stage team member 8A speaking for the motion. You may start.
Ladies and gentlemen, comrades and fellow skeptics, let us delve into the web of government entanglement with economics. Before we delve into this, let's think about it with some acerbic wit and insatiable criticism. I strongly believe that the government should not be in the realm of business due to the vast amount of history and negative connotations that it has. Let's conjure up the ghost of the late great novelist George Orwell, whom in his book 1984 examines exactly how a government has controlled the economy and without any sort of consideration for the welfare of its citizens. Let us also take the vast amount of thinkers, Austrian economists and Keynesian economists, who continue to say that a government intervention in economics has only led to negative outcomes. We are, of course, students of science, and we should continue to understand that outcomes determine the process, and it becomes clear that any amount of government interference in the economic scheme is vastly overrated. Let us also turn our mental gaze to the French thinkers, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Montesquieu, and Voltaire, whom fought there and spent their entire life trying to exploit and understand what goes behind a bureaucracy. Think about the arrogance of the bureaucracy, who believe that they can both balance the power of governance as well as control the purse strings of commerce. Now, this becomes exceedingly hard to believe that they have our best interests at heart, given the history that the bureaucracy has had. Now, there are also several controversies. Let's take the example of the past 2 decades, wherein from 2013 to 2017, a Gallup poll conducted in collaboration with Pew has shown that there's an exponential increase in economic growth when compared to a country with less libertarian views on economics. Further, we can understand that our constitution was based on the French school of thinking of liberty and equality and fraternity, and we should continue to uphold these standards in our future. Further, we can understand that the collapse of several governments who believe that the government should have complete and utter control of commerce and the realm of commerce should continue to be held at a high regard. Now, this to me is an anathema to our thinking. Pardon my recalcitrance, but the government has no credibility in these schemes. We have had continuous amounts of debate and discussion about how the government has exploited us and how we continue to criticize them on a daily basis, even in everyday conversations. But we continue to believe that they should wield more power. Why? Now, this may be controversial. However, I believe that the government has failed us in several ways. Not our government, every government. And I personally believe in freedom and liberty and equality for the same reasons that the people in France did, for the people in Austria and all these other places wherein they had to fight against an oppressive and repressed minority had to fight against an oppressive ruler. Now, further, I also believe that the London School of Economics has published a survey in 2006 condoning that the government has to spend a higher amount of money to make money. Now, this, in my opinion, is an overexploitation of the country's resources in a manner that seems unfit for the well-being of the lower class. Now, I would like to conclude my speech by stating a few statistics. From 2006 to 2009, in a Gallup poll conducted in Austria and Hungary, we have understood that the 36% drop-off when they reduce the amount of power the government has over the economy has occurred. And this stat becomes glaringly obvious and should continue to be impeded upon our government. Now, I would like to conclude with a quote from the great thinker or free capitalist champion, stalwart, Milton Friedman, who stated that every argument against the freedom of market and against free market capitalism is rooted in a lack of belief of capitalism itself. I believe that this is an extremely important quote and one that we should hold in our hearts for years to come. Let our economy be unshackled. Lack of overgovernance. Thank you.
Thank you, 8A. Now we have 8B to deliver your points against the motion.
Good morning, everybody. I am here to speak against the motion in which I believe that the government should be in the business of doing business. I would like to begin by pointing out that regardless of whether the government is heavily involved in the realm of trade and commerce, it inevitably plays a part in maintaining the legality or the legal portions of the commercial sector, and thereby it places itself in the perfect position to launch itself into these activities. Another thing that should be highlighted is that allowing the entirety of the trade and commercial sectors to be entrusted in the hands of a single or multiple private companies removes the responsibility of ensuring consumer welfare and protection from the hands of the government. If you place the government itself in the trade and commercial sector, it increases the government's accountability with regards to these matters. Also, the government already exists there already exists a fixed hierarchical system in the government in which it ensures that each individual of the population is taken care of, and therefore it already has laid the groundwork to ensure that uniform service is provided to all individuals across the country, regardless of geographical, financial, and economic backgrounds. Another point that I would like to highlight is that the government is already aware of certain financial and monetary disparities that exist among the population, and therefore it is able to provide service in such a way that accounts for this. It ensures that each individual is treated not only as a consumer but as a person, with also helps ensure that unemployment is brought to a minimum. Another important feature that must be highlighted is that placing the government in the realm of strategic industries allows them to control what could otherwise The government's involvement in strategic industries like defense and armaments allow them to play a key role in maintaining sensitive information and ensuring that such information is not misused in the hands of a private company. It also, thereby it helps increase national security. And the last point that I would like to make with regards to government involvement in trade and commerce is that it allows for public and private-owned partnerships which encourage the economy and also provide more opportunities for employment. At the heart of the situation, the emphasis must be given to the idea that the government exists not only as an entity that strives for profit alone, but also for the welfare and protection of its consumers, which are its citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Team 8. We now have on stage team member 9A speaking for the motion. You can start.
What I object to in the current government intervention in the so-called solving the crisis, they haven't solved anything. They've just postponed it. Words of the Swiss investor Mark Faber. A very good morning to one and all present here. Today, I'm standing here strongly favoring the motion, government should not be in the business of business. There is no denying that proper rules and regulations are essential for the smooth and civilized functioning of a society. In fact, framing these rules and regulations is the primary duty of a government to create order in a nation. But the question is, just how much government intervention should play a part in business? Does it even work? Because you've all heard this saying, too many cooks spoil the broth. Likewise, too much government intervention can ruin the overall economic growth and can even increase corruption. And there are substantial reasons to prove just the same. To begin with, government ownership can lead to fewer options for individuals. And also, sometimes people find government regulations overbearing on their choices. This hinders personal autonomy and privacy, and there is no consumer sovereignty whatsoever. Secondly, government intervention creates lack of incentive to work with. This hampers efficient production of goods. And in societies with higher government intervention rates, such as in command economies, Government-owned producers are not allowed to go out of business, and hence they have little to no incentive to produce quality products. Most importantly, regulatory bodies that are more powerful and more bigger are more susceptible to corruption, and that corruption is effectively used by big businesses to lobby and manipulate the government. A very good example is the 2G spectrum case, in which government officials and private officials were allegedly involved in selling 122 2G spectrum license that provided an advantage to specific telecom operators. In addition to this, crony capitalism is another big problem, in which there is a mutual advantageous relationship between business leaders and government officials, thus throwing out the small businesses from competition. For instance, the Adani Group is a big example. They were accused of receiving preferential treatment from the government, including allocation of land at below market price. Finally, when a government intervenes, certain government decisions can lead to inefficient and even disastrous consequences. The great Ukrainian famine is an example. In 1932, Ukrainian farmers were the topmost food producers of the world. And the government, since they were moving towards collective ownership, they took over these farms and they removed the owners who were the experts. Unfortunately, the government didn't know the first thing about farming. And as a consequence, 6 million people were killed and as many as 10 million people died of starvation. This, ladies and gentlemen, is also an example of what happens when an entity that is not designed to run business interferes in business. Even the Prime Minister of India suggested and agreed in a conference that government should not be doing the business of business. For all the earlier mentioned reasons and more, I strongly believe that the key to a successful economy lies in preserving the role of the government as a neutral referee. And so yes, undoubtedly, government should not be in the business of business. Thank you.
Thank you, 9A. You may be seated on the hot seat. Now can we have 9B to deliver your points against the motion?
According to the Index of Economic Freedom, Hong Kong has been rated as the world's freest capitalist country in 25 consecutive years. Hong Kong has been commended for its economic resilience, an openness to global commerce, extremely good economic conditions. However, if you take a closer look and tear away this ostentatious facade, we can see that all that glitters is not really gold. Yes, regardless of its developments, Hong Kong suffers from major setbacks such as lack of affordable housing, extremely high rents, exploitation of blue-collar workers, long working hours, and a humongous inequality of wealth. What can I say? The poster child of free capitalism is hiding a lot of skeletons in his closet. Warm greetings to everyone. Today I stand by the opposition to the motion, vigorously asserting that the very notion established by my proposition that governments should not be in the business of business lacks a valid foundation. Now I shall establish my constructives which will justify my belief that governments should be in the business of business through three major outlooks: economical, socio-cultural, and finally environmental. From an economical outlook, I believe a business exists for the sake of profits. And they tend to take decisions that prioritize profits above public welfare. And this prioritization manifested in its ugliest aspect in 1971 when Indian Oil Corporation, which was a private company back then, denied oil supply to Indian Army's request during the Indo-Pak War. This utterly shameless act forced Indira Gandhi, the Iron Lady of India, to nationalize Indian Oil Corporation. Governments, the businesses tend to uphold the expression survival of the fittest as an excuse to resorting to completely underhanded trade practices such as monopolization, intellectual property thefts, and marketing frauds. And this is where the government swoops in as a regulator to keep these profit-hungry capitalists in check. From a socio-cultural vantage point, governments protect the individuals and the society by protecting public health, cracking down on unethical business practices, monitoring the spread of misinformation, and giving the individual consumer the opportunity and the capability to stand up against these malpractices. Approaching from an environmental outlook, governments uphold a majestic role, compelling the businesses to champion eco-friendly production methods and safeguarding the nation's natural treasures against encroachment by these private enterprises. In fact, this insatiable greed of the private enterprises have caused many environmental disasters, such as the Deepwater Horizon oil spill off the coast of US and Adani group of companies illegally encroaching land in Mundra by decimating 75 hectares of mangrove forest and displacing hundreds of people. I believe the point of contention in today's debate is that my opposition wants absolutely no government control in business whatsoever. Fine. Let me negate this absolutely redundant notion by giving you the heartbreaking example of what happened in Bolivia. You see, Bechtel, an American company, bought the rights to water in a city in Bolivia, even the rights to rainwater in that city. Then they had the audacity to put a price tag on that water for the sake of profits. Tell me, my dear audience, is this unchecked and unregulated decadence and depressing condition of an economy the future of all mankind? I sincerely hope not. However, that is the future that my respected opponent is trying to advocate and defend. And that is why I believe that government should be in the business of business. Thank you.
Thank you, team number 9. So that, ladies and gentlemen, was the last team for the finals of the Kerala Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate 2023-24. So it was indeed a tough competition, and we're sure that the judges will have a tough time deciding the winners. As the judges move out to the adjacent room for tabulating the results, the stage will be set for the valedictory function. So we'll begin the function shortly.
all are going to sit?
All these
No, no, no.
six.
Who all are going to sit, you know?
All these people and
Judges?
Judges and Alok sir and
Then get the boards from there.
XIME can boast of one of the best ROI for students by ensuring they start their careers with the best firms. Admissions open. Apply now. XIME, there are many paths to leadership. Discover yours. There are many paths to leadership, and for over 30 years, avid learners have been forging their unique leadership journeys at XIME's 3 strategically located campuses. The 2-year fully residential postgraduate degree in management at XIME provides the perfect environment to shape leaders for today's dynamic workspaces. XIME's reputation attracts students from over 20 Indian states, with nearly 50% gender diversity and a good mix of academic backgrounds and work experience. XIME's curriculum is based on cases and simulations, including from the world's foremost repository Harvard. Students are encouraged to do research projects to ensure that not only are they data-driven but also look for insights. Credit courses in the curriculum ensure building strong business communication skills, both written and oral. 2 years in XIME presents many opportunities. Participating in a stimulating spectrum of activities including being part of professional clubs, as well as in a host of internal and external extracurricular activities ensures students.
We would now like to invite our dignitaries to the dais. I would now like to call upon Professor Alok Krishna, Dean XIME. I would now like to call upon Professor Alok Krishna, Dean XIME Kochi, to deliver the welcome address. Sir, please.
Let me start off with my regards to Professor J. Philip, our founder XIME, who was instrumental in creating this wonderful competition, the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition, in memory of his late daughter, Maria Philip. This competition started off in Kerala as a small event in Assumption College, Changanasheri. It has further grown into 3 different zones, and then right now we are into 10 different zones across Kerala, and it has become a South India round with similar state level competitions happening across Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andhra and Telangana, where all these winners will finally reach Bangalore, XIME Bangalore, for the final event, where they will probably get into the final tussle to win the trophy. It has been heartening to see this event become a strong platform for youngsters across South India, and where they are able to hone their debating skills. As we reach the valedictory function, let me start off by welcoming the dignitaries. Ambassador C.P. Ravindranathan sir, IFS retired, is a chairman of XIME Kochi and a former High Commissioner to Australia. Sir has come from Bangalore all the way to be here with us today for the event. We welcome you, sir. Our judges who have already been introduced and are busy in the adjacent room doing the number crunching to decide who is the winner from this today's rounds. Let me also formally welcome all the judges, Dr. Rubal Raj, Ms. Teresa Verghese, Ms. Biji SS, and Ms. Sumi P, who have joined us today for this event. I'm extremely delighted to see the parents and teachers of the student participants who have come all the way here to support their students and kids for providing that confidence to them to participate in this event. I also extend a very warm welcome to the parents, teachers, and the participating students. I also welcome our other guests, my faculty colleagues, staff, and students to this event. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, sir. We are all gathered here today because of the influence of one girl, Maria Philip. She was a visionary who believed in creating an egalitarian society and in creating a platform for leaders to voice out their opinions. She was the reason behind this prestigious B school, XIME.
And to speak more about the vision that Maria envisioned, we call upon Ms. Sanjana Menon.
Maria Philip was born on 9th April 1964 in Kerala. She pursued her schooling at the Convent of Jesus and Mary, New Delhi, and completed her BA Honours in Psychology from Jesus and Mary, New Delhi. While Maria was a sincere student throughout her schooling, she was also an excellent orator, organizer, and an active participant in extracurricular activities. She was a born leader, and in recognition of her diligence, she was made the head girl at Loreto School, Ranchi, games captain at Convent of Jesus and Mary School, and secretary of the debating club at Jesus and Mary School. The crowning glory for Maria was when she was elected as the most popular girl at the All India Cultural Festival Montage at Jesus and Mary College in 1984. Having always been passionate about human resource management, she decided to pursue a master's program in personal management at the Madras School of Social Work. Unfortunately, during her final year, she was called to Almighty's abode on 30th September 1986, leaving her dreams of contributing to the development of the society unfulfilled. This unfulfilled dream of Maria was the inspiration for her father in the founding of XIME.
Thank you, Sanjana. I believe that the future Maria envisioned truly lives on in these very walls. It is now our pleasure to invite XIME Kochi Chairman, Professor C.P. Ravindranath, IFS retired, to address those gathered here. Sir, please.
Dean, Professor Alok, and all of you in the audience, my warm greetings and best wishes to all of you this morning. Now, the Maria Philip Future Leaders debate competition has now become an important annual feature of our three campuses. And this year, quite encouragingly for us, we have the largest ever participation, although in previous years as well, the participation from Kerala has been the most active among all the three campuses. So this is a matter of pride for our campus and generally for the state of Kerala. Now, Kerala has today, watching the performances was, as usual with every year, was a great pleasure for me. And I was again vindicated in my belief, self-regarding or self-serving as it might seem, that Malayalis have a natural gift for oratory, no doubt about it. Even impartial observers would testify to that. I remember, in the part of my own life I owe to Kerala, growing up in the state, one thing which has struck me in my most impressionable years was the fact how expressive we Keralans are. And later on, when I became familiar with many other parts of India, I was only confirmed in that belief. I remember as a young person who could retain what I heard and what I saw in my memory, some of the finest moments in oratorical sessions in Kerala, where I was witness. And I remember many of these utterances of our great orators used to be well known to even school children in Kerala. And we have had great orators. For example, when it came to politics, we have had Mundasheri and Mathai Manyuran, Manekalath, and people like that. As poetic orators, we had people like G. Shankarakurup, and we had O.N.V. Kurup, and Vailar Ravi Varma, and so many others. And when it came to people or politicians or public figures outside Kerala, there again, some of the most gifted orators were from the state. You might have heard of Krishna Menon, India's delegate at the United Nations and for a while our defense minister. He was actually an orator who was a textbook model of rhetoric. When he was in the United Nations, for example, while addressing the UN Security Council in a critical session for India, where every delegate spoke up against India, and leading the pack were the US and UK, and there was no support for India. I remember Krishna Menon looking around that horse shoe table of the Security Council, and his expressions being, as he used to be known as a tea-fed tiger, because he subsisted on tea, but in his expressions and so on, true to the land of Kathakali artists, he could put on some fierce looks, eyes bulging and lips quivering and all that. And I remember him looking around this table and saying at the end of these long list of speeches, as I look around this table, I know that I have to fight my battles, and be assured I will fight them. Now, that was a kind of rhetoric which left many people proud, not only of the delegate, but of India. Now, and people always used to discuss what explains the relatively remarkable expressive capacity of Malayalis. There were some one was the fact that we were a highly literate population. The other perhaps the strangest explanation that I've got is that we have monocyted, this radiation has some positive effect on Kerala brains, especially on the vocal side. Of course, please don't quote this as a scientific theory, but it had been urged as an explanation. So whatever it is, we have had a tradition, and it's just as well that these traditions are alive and well in Kerala, as exemplified by today's performance. I saw different kinds of rhetoric today. You all know that rhetoric is as much and as lasting, an asset of humanity as anything else, like music and dance and so many different arts, what are called humanities. Oratory is part of it. If you right from the days of Ramayana and Mahabharata, you have great oratorical pieces in the Indian mythology. And all civilizations, starting from the Mesopotamian, have had a share for oratory among the arts. Of course, you all would have heard that it was in ancient Greece that the art of oratory was schematized, was systematized as a discipline. And there are people like Aristotle, who classified various kinds of oratory. It is to him the great theory of rhetoric owes. That is, an ideal orator should appeal to three aspects of the audience's reaction to him, audience's potential capacity to react to him. And an orator, he or she, should appeal to ethos. Ethos is what the audience would feel about the speaker, how sincere he is, how well he connects with the audience, and how free he is from the base emotions, but shine himself by the finest emotions of human personality. That is ethos. And then the next is logos, where you appeal to the logic. And the third one is pathos, where you appeal to the feeling. And a good piece of oratory is one which combines all these three. Today I could see this. And of course, rhetoric is something which has evolved over the years. In ancient Athens and so on, they had to address the whole citizenry. So, you had to address not only with volubility, but with a kind of style which will have an impact on the entire city audience. Today, thanks to technology, we have amplification system, we have huge screens, and we have a lot of things which have come to the aid of the orator. But still, what the orator says, even if you have a teleprinter, as in the case of Obama, still a native ability, an inherent ability to express yourself is crucial. Today I found several genres of oratory. For example, there is the usual kind, which a lot of you practice, the elocutionary kind. That is memorizing your points and delivering it. It's a very good way of oratory, but what is lacked there is the ethos. That is, you don't connect with the audience. Your sincerity is deficient than what it should be, and that rapport, which is essential for successful oratory, would be missing. So that way, extempore speech is much the best, and particularly one team or two teams here excel themselves by the seemingly impromptu nature of the way they delivered their speeches. And there were some which were very highly informed, full of good content, and there were indeed some with conforming. A good bit of oratory is what we in Malayalam call abhinayam. You should have abhinayam. And in Kerala, again, boast about we are the land of Kathakali, and Kathakali is one of the most expressive arts. So, where you speak not only with your eyes and so on, but eyebrows and forehead, all kinds of anything which is moving is used in Kathakali. So that Abhinaya is very important, and I found some pieces of oratory presented here excelling in Abhinaya. So more of you, as you speak, please cultivate all these different components of good oratory. Felicity of speech. You must speak in the theory of rhetoric, which I mentioned earlier, ethos, logos, and so on. You should be able to communicate persuasively, assertively, pleadingly, convincingly, soothingly. That's true. But you should also speak, as I said earlier, with the ability to connect with every member of the audience, and there Abhinaya comes into the picture. Not only with the gestures which you make, but the way you stand and the way you speak with your eyes, and of course in certain moments of oratory you can even use your nostrils if you are really angry to express yourself. Alright, so once again I was really inspired by the standards set here, or standards manifested here by the team of participants. We hope we will have more such successful competitions on this campus. And all those who participated today, please remember that if you were ever to join this campus, you will find your gift of oratory put to maximum use and rewarded to the maximum. Because debate is part of our discipline to which we attach a lot of importance, which is communication. And rhetoric is important both in written and in spoken communication. We give a lot of importance to it at XIME. We would like this to spread across the whole of Kerala so that the catchment area, the number of participants we get for the competition will continue to increase every year. And please do spread the word among your teachers and among your friends in your own colleges and elsewhere that here we are an institution which has put debate and the art which includes this debate. And of course, we have here, if the language was Malayalam, I know there would have been a higher standard of oratory, but we should all speak Malayalam as well as possible. But English, let us not neglect it. It is a global language. After all, communication is a tool. In Kerala, we use Malayalam, but when we go outside, we must use English. And I think we should do everything possible to make sure that you have the ability to speak in English fluently and as felicitously as possible. We are aware of that. That's why XIME Group is now setting up a school in Etumanu where we will give primacy to English language. Because we are aware that this is one area, proficiency in English, writing and reading should get more important than is the case. So these are some of the observations I can make, and also a bit of propaganda I could make about XIME Kochi, as I might well be entitled to as the chairman of this institution. So let me greet most warmly all the participants today in this joust, as well as thank our distinguished judges of the panel. They have not only done a very commendable job, putting it all together and judging, but they have also come back here more promptly than I had expected, and thereby shortening the time of my own speech. So thank you very much, all the distinguished judges, and once again, all the very best to you participants and the winners whose names will be announced presently.
Thank you, sir, for your invigorating words. We would now like to welcome Dr. Rubal Raj, chairperson of the panel of judges, to give his observations on the performance of the contenders, and after that, please announce the results of the state finals of the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition. But before Sir can do so, do we have any guesses from the audience as to who might be the winners? Let's hear from Sir. Sir, please.
Respected Chairman, Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, Professor Alok Krishna, my fellow jury members, members of the faculty, and my very, very dear youngsters. Today, I was really fortunate in the sense I could head a jury which was a female-dominated panel, but then I became the chairperson. So I'm really fortunate regarding that. Before I make any observation, I would like to congratulate the XIME team for organizing this debate competition in that most professional way possible. Naturally, a clap has to come. Thank you. Please don't go for any guess, because this is a kind of academic activity, so no chance for any guess here. I would like to make my observations about the competition. When you look at the topic, I am reminded of a quote by Dr. Johnson. Have you heard about Dr. Johnson? Any idea about Dr. Johnson? Maybe an orthopedic doctor or a cardiologist? No, you don't know. The first compiler of an English dictionary, Dr. Johnson. Okay? When a question was put to him and they asked him the answer, to save himself, he said, much can be said on both sides. When you look at today's topic, same is my comment. Much can be said on both sides. And I'm happy that many of you have come out with very convincing arguments. Not points, but arguments. But before going further, I would like to thank and congratulate each one of the participants for participating in this debate competition. Because, as a principle, I know, whenever you conduct a debate competition or any academic activity on the campus, there are only very few takers. You announce a dance competition, my God, lot of teams will be there. You announce a skit competition, lots of people will be there. But if it is an oratory activity or a debate or a quiz, there are only very few takers. But I'm happy that at least 10 teams from different colleges, and that too from different parts of the state, have participated in this competition, and my appreciation for your participation. Yeah, no problem. And coming to your presentation, I have high regard for you. When many were reluctant to come, you have shown the courage to come forward and present your views. So that has to be appreciated. But then, since this is a state-level competition, we expected more from you, naturally. I have traveled all the way from Kochi simply to judge it. And all these people are like that. But we expected more. In what way we expected more, I'll tell you. First of all, you need to go for current reading. That is not happening. Current reading. That is not happening. All of you have quoted, I think what most of you have quoted Friedman, right? Nobody has quoted Yuval Noah Harari. He has said beautiful things, relevant things about the topic, but nobody has quoted that. And it was very shocking for me that not even one team mentioned about the new economic policy. The whole thinking started from there. Nobody mentioned that. Liberalization, privatization, globalization. Somebody said neoliberalism. Somebody said. And only one team, I have specially noted that. One team, 9A, I don't know which person is that 9A. She was the only participant who mentioned the term crony capitalism. These are the terms of the day. Crony capitalism. You know what is the Malayalam for that? Malayalam ariyande. Changatha mudalalitam. Changatha mudalalitam. That is the connection between Modi and Adani. That is crony capitalism. Only one team has mentioned that. Other teams should have mentioned more about the new economic policy. Then, when it came to XIME, you have crossed a factory here. Which factory is that? HMT. Nobody mentioned about the state of HMT today. HMT was a government-owned company, one of the star companies of the country. What is its state today? You know it. You go there, it's a big forest. Just like a jungle it is. What happened to it and how it has happened. Nobody has mentioned about the company started by Jawaharlal Nehru, BHEL, HAL, BML. Nobody mentioned about all these things. The whole thinking started from there. I'm sorry that you didn't do that. But then, maybe next time you'll be able to use it. And then coming to your skills, your rhetoric skills, you must have rhetoric skills. No, it's not simply, it's a debate, so it's not simply, flowing out ideas, one after the other, like that. No. There must be pause, there must be questions, there must be a stop, there must be, looking at the people for something. The body language is very important. Along with that, your actions are very important. And that you have to develop. It's not simply, airing out the points that you know. So that skill you need to develop. The best method is, have you heard about peer grooming skill? Peer grooming skill. In debate, we practice that. Peer grooming is very simple. A will speak to B and B will correct A. B will speak to A and A will correct her. That is the best way for practicing in debate. Please try to follow that. And then, these are all my comments about your presentation. But still, we appreciate the interest that you have shown in the topic and your courage to come over here and present your ideas. I wish you the very best. You must keep going, read more, practice more, shine more, and win more. That's all. And then you are eagerly waiting for the result. Maybe somebody will give me officially that result. Paper officially. Yeah. Yeah. I told you there is no guesswork. Maybe your heart is beating fast. Faster. Right? Okay? Yeah, of course, there is only one winner. The winner is Team 3 with 259 points. 259 points. So a loud applause to them. But I don't know which college they represent. Maybe they'll announce it now. Right? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And congratulations to the winners and all the teams that participated. May I request Dr. Rubal Raj to distribute to the winners Theresa Maria and Ashish K. Shintu of Mar Ivanios College, Thiruvananthapuram, the cash prize of rupees 40,000 and the ever-rolling trophy. I also invite the other judges and our dignitaries to Sir, I request you to give away the ever-rolling trophy. Thank you, sir. And ma'am. Thank you. The zonal prelims were held in 10 zones between the months of October and December. We would now like to take this opportunity to thank the host colleges at all the zones for providing us the venue and their wholehearted support.
May I invite Dr. Rubal Raj to give away the zonal level cash prizes and winner certificates of the state level competition. We have Teresa Maria, and representing Uttara Raji, we have Ashish K. Shintu of Mar Evanios College from Trivandrum Zone.
Teresa Maria. And Ashish K. Shintu of Mar Evanios College, Trivandrum Zone. I request the zonal winners to please stay back at the dais for a group photo. Next up we have Abhinav Mohan and Gauri Parvati S of Fatima Mata National College from Kollam Zone. Abhinav Mohan and Gauri Parvati S of Fatima Mata National College from Kollam Zone. Changnasheri Zone winners, Rahul Alex and Anjali H of SB College, Changnasheri.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Ms. Teresa Verghese to distribute the certificates. Next, we have MP Shabirinath and Amia Elza Biju from Nirmala College, Muattura of Idiki Zone. MP Shabirinath. And Amia Elza Biju.
Next, we have Krishnanand Prajit Menon and Ritu Maria of Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology from Kochi Zone. Krishnanand Prajit Menon and Ritu Maria. Thank you, ma'am. May I now invite Ms. Sumi Sukumaran to distribute the certificates. We have Agna Paulus and Nandana Anil of FISAT, also from Kochi Zone. Agna Paulus and Nandana Anil of FISAT.
From Prajyoti Niketan College, Amal Joshi and Jisha Reggie of Trishur Zone. Amal Joshi. And Jisha Reggie. Thank you, ma'am. May I now invite Ms. Biji SS to distribute the certificates.
Amika Shirin C and Krishna Priya V of Government Arts and Science College from Calicut Zone. Amika Shirin C and Krishna Priya V.
And last but not the least, from Don Bosco Arts and Science College in Kannur Zone, Maria Shaji and Clinton Atho Anthony. Maria Shaji. Clinton Atho Anthony.
We would also like to congratulate Anna Caroline and Lino K. Jose of Alfonsa College, Pala from Kottayam Zone, and Sai Gayatri S. and Shweta K. of Mercy College from Palakkad Zone in absentia for winning in their respective zones. Congratulations once again to all the zonal winners. We request you to gather in the middle of the dais for a group photograph.
Congratulations once again to all the zonal winners, and thank you to our eminent panel of judges for giving away the certificates and prize money.
May I now request Professor C.P. Ravindranathan, IFS retired, Chairman XIME Kochi, to please bestow our panel of judges with a memento as a token of our gratitude. To Dr. Rubal Raj. Miss Teresa Verghese. Miss Biji SS. Miss Sumi Sukumaran.
Debate to fruition to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning to all. Respected dignitaries on the dais, Professor C.P. Ravindranathan IFS retired Chairman, XIME Kochi, Professor Alok Krishna, Dean, XIME Kochi, Chairman of the panel of judges, Dr. Rubal Raj, other esteemed panel judges, Ms. BGSS, Ms. Sumi Sugumaran, and Ms. Teresa Verghese. Now we are concluding the Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition 2023. Gratitude is not only the greatest virtues, but the parent of others. So my role is to thank each and everyone who made Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition. I must say that it's a grand success. Thank you very much. And first, I would like to express our thanks to Professor C.P. Ravindranathan sir. And I must say that your enlightening speech, relative remarkable capacity of a Malayali. Sure, sir, we are that. And thank you for your kind words, and thank you for being as the chief guest, even having a good number of works. He spent time for us for the validatory function. And thank you for all the wholehearted support and guidance. Next, I would like to extend our thanks to all the panel of judges, chairman of the panel, Dr. Rubal Raj. Thank you for your structured format. So I believe that the next time when the students go to Bangalore for the South region, they will be taking your words and they will be acting exactly how a orator or a debater should have. Next, I would like to thank Ms. BGSS. Even though having busy schedule, she made, without any hesitation, she said, okay, I'll be coming to the program. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Sumi Sugumaran. Thank you, ma'am. Again, I must say that all the three judges, without any hesitation, they said, okay, I'm coming to the program. Thank you, Teresa, ma'am, also for coming to the... And next, I would like to extend our thanks to the XIME management, our founder, Professor J. Philip, and President, Professor Anil Philip, for their continuous guidance and support for all our interviews. A good round of applause to them also. And the team XIME Kochi, I'm happy to extend our sincere thanks to Dr. Francie in absentia, and Professor Alok for their continuous support, guidance, and even we were here in the auditorium even last day 8 p.m. Yes, sir. Thank you for that support to all the faculty members for any kind of program. Thanks are also due to the faculty colleagues for their consistent encouragement. The moment when I took the responsibility of Maria Philip debate competition, I felt like, okay, what should I do? But the consistent encouragement from the director, dean, and the faculty members made this day a grand success. A good round of applause to them also. Last but not the least, from the XIME family itself, I'm talking about the students of XIME. You are the one, the backbone behind the faculty members. For every success of events, you are the one ready to go wherever they are. Thank you all for the volunteers, for their contribution to the program. I must appreciate all the colleges who supported us with their student participation, and a special round of applause to all the faculty members of the respective colleges from different zones. And then finally, the champions. When I say champions, I'm not mentioning about the state final winners. The moment each and every student stepping into the platform of debating, all are champions. So thanks to all the champions who participated the zonal level event and also the state finals. Once again, thanking you all. Stay safe, stay blessed. See you at Maria Philip Future Leaders Debate Competition 2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bijit, sir. I request all to please rise for the national anthem. जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल वंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नाम हे जाहे तव शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगल नायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Congratulations once again to all the participants and winners. Please do join us for lunch in the canteen downstairs. Food will be served by 12. This is George.
And Shruti signing off. Have a great day and a great weekend. Participants, please collect your participation certificates from the reception desk. Thank you and good day.